listening to the LOZ Podcast Network.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the LOZ Podcast Network. My name is Ken Lawler. I am the developer of the LOZ app and the LOZ app Podcast Network. And as you know, the LOZ Podcast Network is a network of podcasts at the Lake of the Ozarks where we get to meet people. We meet realtors. We meet business owners. We talk to people around town. We just had on, Taylor, the magician over at Main Street Music Hall. So we have all kinds of different people on the podcast. And today I'm super excited because I have three friends here that also, if you didn't know, they're the people behind what happens in business at the Lake of the Ozarks. And I have the three chamber directors with me. I have Mike Kinnigsman, I have Morgan Craneshaw, and I have Casey Cloak. Hello, guys. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. I wanted to talk a little bit. Mike's excited. This is his first podcast. He told me before we went on the air, it's his first podcast. So this is great. The other two are pros. They do this all the time. I want to talk a little bit about meeting you guys and kind of your background. So Mike, let's start with you. So how did you get involved with the chamber leadership? What was the process to get you here?
So I actually had been working for the Lake of the Ozarks Council of Local Governments, and this position came open, and I had actually been attending multiple chamber events and working with Casey and Morgan and a couple of the previous chamber directors. And when this position came open, I thought, I want to be more involved on the west side, which is where I live, west side of the Lake of the Ozarks. And I thought this was a great opportunity for me to jump in and try and, make a difference, try and help our west side of the Lake of the Ozarks be prosperous and be community focused. And I was very fortunate that I was able to get this position. I really loved living over here, and that was really my driving, focus was, trying to make things as good as possible here on the west side of the lake.
Awesome. And Casey, how did you get into this?
Yeah, so I actually served as a board of director member for the Lake Area Chamber for about 2.5 years before I became a staff member, before I became the executive director over at the Lake Area Chamber. But getting involved in the chamber, even in that role as a board member, I worked for a local bank at the time. And, I understood that the chambers are really the behind the scenes movers and shakers that I really wanted to be a part of that and supported. So I got on the board and then kind of got recruited to the staff side of the world of chamber. And I really loved it. I love being able to make connections and just building resources. And so, yeah, it kind of suckered me in. And I've been here in the chamber world for 9 years now, almost 10.
Turn around, it's been a decade.
Right. Yeah.
And Morgan, tell us how you got involved.
Kind of by default. So this was my first big girl job out of, college in a different form. I was the membership director, I think was the title at the time here at the Lake Area Chamber. And then did this for a little bit, went away, and then got recruited back when the position became available. I had served on the board, so I understood the importance of the chamber. And it was interesting to be a staff member, to be a board member, and then to come back to the staff side of things. But I can't even imagine the chamber not being a part of my life in some format. So yeah, I'm kind of here by default. Then I'm chosen to come back, and I've stayed. So hey.
So you're all here. I think a lot of people think, the chamber, they do ribbon cuttings and, they might put up an event every once in a while. And other than that, I really don't know what they do. But I know behind the scenes, I see what you guys do on a daily basis. We're pretty involved at the LOZ app with a lot of your different things, your initiatives you have going on. But what amazes me is that it's every day you guys are fighting for businesses out here at the lake. You're trying to find ways to either make them, known to the public even more, or you're trying to help them achieve goals. You're trying to get them to work together in a lot of ways. Morgan, what makes your area unique in terms of business and tourism at the lake? So if you take just your area, you spend a lot of time dealing with businesses on the Strip.
Businesses on the Strip, Osage Beach. Of course, our territory is from Y Road, in Eldon off of W, to Y Road and Lynn Creek is our territory. So that's businesses from the Strip could be Tuscumbia area, could be off of 42 somewhere. But I would say the biggest focus is always, wanting to get their name out there, what their business is, what they do. So I think we spend a lot of time on the advertising side of things for our members, whether that's business to business or if that's business to tourist kind of a situation. But we spend a lot of time on the promotion side of things, not only events, but networking business, a lot of business to business on our end over here.
Yeah, it seems like the business networking events are a huge thing at the lake. I know you guys you do some together, you do some differently, but it's something that is a big, emphasis for all of the chambers to try to get people out and meet each other. And it is cool because you get to see people outside of their business in more of a social atmosphere. And a lot of times those businesses will get together and work together on different things. Mike, in your area, on the west side, what's unique to you on the west side? Like, what are some of the things you guys deal with on the business side that maybe the other two don't?
So one of the things that we have that's very different, that we're all on this side very proud of, but it also causes challenges at sometimes, is that we are a mom and pop area. We have only 2 businesses that are actually a national chain in our territory. So when you only have 2 businesses that have a national name, and every other business is locally owned, that's a unique situation, a unique combination of things going on over here on the west side lake. So like I said, we're very proud of that, but it also makes some challenging opportunity, or has some challenges to it. Kind of makes some opportunities a little bit more difficult to get to, but provides other opportunities as well, because we are very community focused. Everybody has that ownership within the business community, within the local cities, the churches, the whatever it is. Everybody has some ownership in this area because they do have their business here.
Yeah, and I know that several of you guys do business expos, and you get the business together. And Casey, you guys do a big business expo, right? That involves a bunch of businesses around town that actually come in and show their products and those kind of things. Talk a little bit about the business expo and what that's done for the Camdenton Chamber.
Yeah, so we kind of all talked about territories. So the Camden area really is from Y Road, Big Surf to 7 in Greenview. And so we are very unique. We've got a lot packed into our small, intimate town. When it comes to like the resident side, we've got everything, healthcare services, personal services. If you're a business, we've got all those business services that you would need, a CPA, legal. Being Camdenton, we are also the county seat. And so there's a lot of county business that can be done within our own neighborhood. And then focusing on the tourist side, we've got a lot from Ozarks Amphitheater, Haha Tonka, an award-winning state park, Bridal Cave, premier golf courses, lots of dining options, hotels. We've got everything from your choice hotels to a high-end resort to the mom and pop resorts, and everything in between. So we are very unique. One of the main aspects that gives us the hub definition is we see over 55,000 in traffic counts on a daily basis through our town.
Yeah, it's now that the toll bridge is no longer, and the highway system is so connected. I mean, it used to be, it took me a long time to get to each of, if I went to Camdenton or I was going to the west side. Now I can pretty much get anywhere I want in the lake in 15 or 20 minutes. And that's amazing. If you guys remember what it was like just 5 years ago, I mean, it was not that easy to do. And so as much as the highway system has brought everybody even closer, I think that's an opportunity. And certainly the toll bridge, Mike, for your area, the toll bridge has got, going away. That's really got to help the west side, because now, there's not that $3 decision you got to make every time you're going across there. And I live right across the toll bridge, so I did contribute at least $20,000 to the building of that. I wanted that to be known. So tell me a little quick. I'm going to go with each.
That.
I know you do. I'm going to go to each one of you, and I want you guys to tell me what's a moment of pride that you have in your area for what you've done as you've been the director. Give me like something that stands out in your mind. Like, I'm really proud of this since I've been the director. Let's start with Morgan. Morgan, what's something you're really proud of? I know what it's going to be because it just happened. If you don't mention what it is,
it's funny because I wasn't going to say that actually. The biggest thing that I have pride in since I've started here again, which is just at 3 years, is redoing our strategic plan. And I know that's like really behind the scenes, in the weeds kind of things. That's how we do day-to-day business. So revamping that and really looking into like what it is we want to do in the next 3 to 5 years, and we spent over a year digging into that and making it something that is attainable, but there's goal setting out there, stuff that we want to achieve. That's probably been my biggest like pat on the back. We got that done. We're living, breathing through it every day. That is by far internally the biggest accomplishment. Now, next, I'll do, what's the extrovert, that's not the word, but externally, there we go. The biggest thing is probably the car show, but that has been going on for 37 years and isn't something that I did by any means by myself. But I think publicly, outwardly, that is probably the biggest thing that the chamber can hang its hat on is the car show. That's the first weekend of May every year that brings in 800 cars, 12,000 people, and is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and we broadcasted live from that this year, and it was amazing. The people, it was as packed as I've ever seen it, so it was very cool. Mike, what about you? What's something you're proud of since in your tenure there?
Nope. And my tenure is fairly short. I'm starting my 4th year here. I didn't think about the internal, so Morgan, I appreciate that. We actually did kind of what you did. We revamped our policies, procedures, and all strategic plan and all that stuff. So I'm very proud of that. Because, as Morgan said, that's how we manage and that's how we work throughout the future. But what I'm really most proud of is when we have visitors come to our area. And I get them, and we do get them from all over. We are a visitor center as well. We get them. I've had them from Russia, from China, from all over South America come in here. And the one thing that they always say, no matter where they've been around our area, and, specifically to some of our businesses, they say how friendly and helpful everybody is here. And that just shows that community support. So as a chamber, it's not necessarily my pride. I'm just proud of our community, and from a chamber perspective, how we do reflect and how we look at our whole area and support the area and really promote our Lake of the Ozarks and support and really welcome our visitors from everywhere. That's what makes me proud to be a chamber director.
And KC, now they both said they've only been there 3 or 4 years. Now you've been there for 10, so you probably have several things. But let's just limit it to 1 or 2 that we'll give you 2.
Let's go with 2. Because there's 2 different chambers. So we'll give you 2. I've been with the Camdenton Chamber for 5 years, and probably my most prideful moment here in Camdenton is growing our Lake of the Ozarks Air Show. That was an event that was happening, just like Morgan said, well before my time. But our last air show, we continue to grow it, and we went from an average of about 7,800 that come for this one-day event to over 14,000. Wow. So huge, great for our sponsors, great for our local business. But I look back at the 10 years total in chamber world, and something that really stands out, and I think it's valid for today's podcast, is it highlights the collaboration. 2020 was such a tough year. And looking back, I'm very proud that, there were several initiatives that I was involved with, that the 3 chambers, we came together, and even outside of the chamber world, we tackled the We Are the Lake, We Are Open marketing campaign, which encouraged, of course, the pool bar video footage nationwide helped our community, but we were helping to reiterate for our businesses that we were open, that we wanted to continue the tourism side of it. The 3 chambers plus 2 additional Lake Region chambers, the Versailles and Eldon, and the Convention and Visitor Bureau. We all came together for that marketing initiative. It was huge for our region. So super proud of that. And then along with the COVID perspective, the 3 chambers, the Lake West, Lake Area, and the Camdenton chambers, we came together when we found out that Camden County was receiving ARPA funds. We came together and produced a small business grant working with the county to develop those grants to help support our businesses that were being severely negatively impacted. We had a lot of businesses growing, even though I think the rest of the country hated us at the moment for that. But we also had other businesses that were being controlled, that had to shut down due to state statutes and things like that. So there were some still negative impacts, and we were able to recognize that and produce those small business grants and kind of help give them a little financing during that tough time. And something else that came out of COVID that I'm still look back and was really proud, that was kind of my baby, was our Member Connect. It was a Zoom call we did weekly where we brought all of our members together. We brought in community stakeholders and leaders that were able to share updates, whether we had the health department joining us on the call, the commissioners or whomever, kind of be able to keep the businesses engaged. It was really if you look back, I hate to think about 2020, but there was a lot of cool things and connecting that happened. That was just not just one silo in one chamber. It was really coming together.
It's funny because COVID was just not that far back, but it seems far away. But when you start looking back, you get a little PTSD, like, oh my God, I can't imagine going back to, it changed everyone's life. And, business in the business environment changed completely, right? I mean, you had all these workers that now are working from home. Everybody is working differently, and it's set. And really, that hasn't changed much. I mean, they're trying to get it back to where it was, but I don't know that it ever will be. So, I mean, the life we live and the way you guys are promoting businesses today and the way businesses have to function to be successful is so different than what was going on 4 years ago. And that's why I love the fact that you support each other, you're supporting your businesses. Let's talk a little bit about the business side of it. So, what do you guys see as the business climate right now in your area? If you're hearing your members, what's going on? I know we're just starting the season, so we're a little seasonal here. So it's not like it's a normal, business, not like I can look at it year by year, but we're starting it. But I know you can look at last season to this season. And what are you guys hearing from your business owners right now?
So just coming off of Memorial Weekend, it's been an interesting kind of thing to hear. So I think everyone's been wondering if and when it'll go back to pre-COVID, right? Because COVID was such this big, huge boom for us here. And it's like, okay, will it go back to what it was? What's the new standard? Where are we at here? And it's interesting. You talk to businesses on the Strip, this past weekend, and a majority of them will say it's the best Memorial Weekend they've ever had. And if not the best, it's right there. You talk to people that are in Osage Beach and you're like, it was about pre-COVID, which is just a fascinating thing depending on where you are. And of course, the weather plays a huge factor into that information that I've received over the past week. But I think everyone's still very optimistic. I think people are waiting to see, what it's going to be this summer. I think this summer is going to be a huge factor and indication of the next couple of years looks like here as well. I think people are a little worried about the housing market. And again, what that looks like, it's, you're seeing all these houses go up for sale that we didn't have 5 years ago, right? Because people were buying them. But I think overall, very optimistic. I think they're just interested to see what the climate will be this year and kind of, foreshadowing the next couple of years.
Casey, how about your area?
So, Camden continues to grow as far as like the landscape of our community. A lot of food. I don't know why the last 5 years, if you think about it, we've gained several like fast food.
Yeah, I've gained 10 pounds
shops,
as they keep growing. Thank you.
We've got more coming. I know, right? Yeah, we've got Papa's opening this summer. Popeye is still eventually coming at the end of this year. But there's been a lot of other business growth that Camden has seen. And I think the reason we're seeing that in our community, I mentioned the traffic count. That does a lot when it comes to the decision maker on choosing a community. Where do they want to go and how much exposure they're going to get? But we've got a lot of real estate still available too, whether it's real estate that can be revamped or land that can be reutilized with new structures. We're seeing it both in so many different industries. The biggest challenges, just like the rest of the nation, is housing. I think that really impacts our local businesses and securing that workforce. We in Camden, we are very blessed, though. We've got an apartment complex literally being completed as we speak. We also, from what the city has shared, we've got potentially another complex coming in the near future. So, we are recognizing the need, and we have money coming into the community to help resolve some of those challenges. So we're excited to see what else can come out about it.
What about the West Siders, Mike?
Well, I have to agree with everything that's been said, because we are, as we mentioned earlier, one community. Now, from a Memorial Weekend, we have a little bit different experience because
you have a lot of on the water. You have a lot of on the water businesses over there, so that
we have a lot of on water businesses. I actually went to a couple of them, and they were, if it was a normal Memorial Day weekend, I wouldn't have got in. I wouldn't have got in, as quickly as we did. We sat down, we got served immediately. Still great service, still great food. But definitely it was a different story with the on water businesses over here on the west side. Now they're not complaining because they know that's part of what's going to happen. They're going to have other days that are going to, help make up for that. And they always expect at least, a few days of bad weather. But yeah, that was a little off. Now our off water businesses did a really good job. So I've heard from some of them. What I'm really hearing a lot of right now, though, is we've got some light manufacturing over here. And I say light manufacturing, dock builders, lift builders, things like that. The blue collar workers, our electricians, our plumbers, they are just still going gangbusters right now. Part of that is we've got new houses being built. And part of that is we've got people that are buying houses and doing upgrades and making changes and that sort of thing, because they are constantly busy. And that's one thing I like to see, because it means that we're keeping that growth. It's not exploding like, we're not going to have 100,000 people here next year, but we're keeping a nice steady growth in things, and it's a good community focus. I do want to touch on one thing that Casey mentioned along that with that staffing. The one thing that we see as one of our biggest challenges, especially on this side of the lake, from a staffing perspective, is childcare. It's just, we have so many people that are traveling so far, and the younger employees that have families are really struggling with the childcare thing. So that's one of those challenges, that we see that we would love to see some growth in. It's one of those areas where, and I think, Casey's nodding there, Morgan would look at that as well. It's one of those areas where we do need some growth that we're not seeing like we would like to, but it's an opportunity. So anybody out there listening, this is a great opportunity for this whole lake area.
Well, and it makes sense a little
right?
bit. It makes sense though, the coming out of COVID, I mean, that went away. I mean, you didn't have childcare in COVID. Everybody who stayed home, everybody had their kids at home. So those people that were running, small, daycares and stuff, they probably found something else to do. But that's a real connection to what happened coming out of COVID, because now you've got people going back to work, need to be back in the office, need to be back in the place of employment. And it is tough to find any kind of childcare. And, that is a great point. And I think those are the kind of things, we talk about competition, and I know that you guys have a little bit of competition between your areas, obviously. I mean, it's natural. But I think the collaboration for me is what I find to be just so unique. And the fact that I get to work with all three of you and things that you're doing, I mean, you guys are always supporting each other. You're always trying to find ways that you can help each other. I know you guys do some collaborative efforts. Morgan, talk a little bit about what you guys try to do as a group to collaborate amongst the three chambers.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think off the top of my head. So we have our networking socials that we actually expanded upon this year. So we each have our own individual chamber socials throughout the year, but we've come together. It used to be just one time a year. We would have this joint networking social, and it would hop around between the three different territories that we have every year. And this year, again, we expanded on it. So now we're doing, is it 3 or 4 that we're doing now? 3? Yeah. So now we're doing 3 collaborative chamber socials every year, which each of our members find a lot of value in. Obviously coming to ours, but then they get a network within, the entire lake community. We host the every other month. I was going to say quarterly, but it's not even that. It's every other month, a Eggs and Issues breakfast forum. So it's an educational series as well as a networking opportunity that takes place in the morning. So it gives those individuals that, aren't able to come in the evening, they're able to come and network and, take away an educational piece in the morning. Then we have our legislative reception that we host annually in January of each year, that is put on between the 3 of us, Versailles, Eldon, and then the Convention and Visitors Bureau as well. What else am I missing there?
I like the fact that we, as the directors of our different chambers, we meet on a regular basis to talk about our challenges, to talk about our wins, talk about our, what can we do to help each other. We are supportive. Sometimes you just need somebody to vent to a little bit, because let's face it, not every day is absolutely perfect in our world. I mean, my world is perfect, but I know not everybody else's days are perfect. It is one of those things where I think we do a really good job of working together and helping each other. And if we have ideas, I know I've gotten great ideas from both Casey and Morgan, and the other chamber directors, Matt and Dina, that meet with us on a regular basis. So I do appreciate that, and that's one of the things that you don't see that in the community, but it does affect what we do overall. So that collaboration is really there, and that's one of the things I do appreciate. And that's one of the things that actually helped convince me to take this job, as well as I knew we could have that good working relationship and support each other.
Yeah. And I think the last thing I want to add is our involvement with we are all board members of the Council of Local Government. So we participate in those endeavors to represent the business sectors of each of our communities, but we do it regionally. So we're able to have a voice regionally for the business sector, as well as Lake of the Ozarks Regional Economic Development Council. Most people call it LORDEC. We're all very heavily involved in LORDEC as well. And then even our EDAC, it's an economic development Advisory Committee. So there's so many acronyms.
We
so many.
have
I
an
could just go
acronym for
on
that.
with that.
I noticed
There,
that.
there is. There's an acronym for an acronym. But we all sit at those tables, and we sit amongst the other community leaders, but we're there working together and collaboratively for the business region of the whole lake. So it's
Yeah,
always great.
and that's why the title of this whole podcast is collaboration over competition, because I see it as a member of all of chambers. I am attuned to what you guys do together, what you guys are trying to do on your own, and it's just it's like I said, it's just so unique, and I think it's just a positive for the businesses of the Lake of the Ozarks. I mean, the LOZ app services a bunch of businesses, right? And we're trying to help them promote, and you guys are doing the same thing, and everyone's trying to get. And I think if you ask a business owner, what do you want from your chamber? They're going to say, bring me more business. That's what I want. I want to get the name out of our business. I want to help initiatives that we have. I want to help the community. There's so much charity going on at the lake, and you guys are involved with a bunch of different charitable stuff. And how do we get involved? How do we make sure that we can make it the best community we can be? I wanted to give you each a question on the next segment, which is kind of the future of business at the Lake of the Ozarks. I'm going to start with Casey on this one. What's next for 2025 and beyond? What do you see as what's coming? I mean, what's out there on the horizon where everybody's like, okay, when this hits, this is going to be something interesting. We got to be ready for it.
So I'm gonna answer that in twofold, because we've got a lot internally with the chamber on what's next to support our members, and kind of like Morgan mentioned before, we too also completed a strategic plan last year, and we built that based on a member survey. We reached out, we connected with our members, we wanted to understand what was important, and I think this ties in with the region as well, or the business region. Professional development is always important. You've got a lot of younger generations now getting into the workforce, and we want to be able to help lift them up and grow them professionally. And just continued ambassador support, or business support through like an ambassador program, which is something we're rolling out later this year. It's going to help us not only retain our members and be able to get connected with them one-on-one, but for new businesses, because every industry is different. And we've already identified there are so many different industries here in the lake. And so, we all don't fit in one bubble. What the chamber does here is not necessarily important to this business, but we, having that open communication and understanding of what's relevant to the businesses, to the variety of businesses. And so with that, we've got some other advocacy initiatives that will be launching late this year, and other continued education programs. So that was kind of the biggie from our business sector. Is really just more of the education. They love the networking, of course. We're going to continue that. They still want the community events that the chamber puts on. There will always be a Dogwood Festival. There'll be, the air show and things of that nature, and our networking socials, and we'll continue the eggs and issues. But, really honing in on more specific targeted education is kind of our biggest goal. And I think it's going to bring the best value, because times are changing. We're still seeing a lot of the same challenges, like the workforce challenges, housing, child. We've all named that. But like, what are we doing about that? So we're just making sure people are getting more involved and sitting at the right tables, and also personally, like us verbally, making sure that we're sharing those insights with with our local and state elected officials. They're the ones that make the decisions that impact everything. It's not just us at the chamber. But being able to have a voice for those businesses and getting in the ears of the right folks making the decisions, I think is important. And we need to continue that, even probably more importantly now than ever so before.
Those are great points. And Morgan, you got, talk about the future of what's coming. You got some big projects in your area that are just being built right there by the Grand Glaze Bridge. There's the mall is looking like, what's going on with that. So there's a lot going on in your area that's coming, right?
Yeah, I think Casey, hit it right on the head with what our members are looking for. In our surveys as well, they're talking about advocacy, whether that's at a local level, a state level, it's just being active and having a voice. So, our members, they're looking towards us for, some guidance on what they should do, and all of our resources that we have from the state level, what information do we know that we can share with them? So it's being an advocate is definitely what our businesses are looking for. And then, of course, like you said, the next 10 years it's going to look a little bit different over here, whether that's with the hall, if that's with the, the Ferris wheel that's going to go up, what that looks like on the strips. The landscape is changing here. And so what our members are looking for is also changing. And we just need to continue to grow and better serve our members with what they're looking for too.
And Mike, you mentioned earlier, I think, that you've got some industrial stuff moving in on the west side, right? Like that's kind of the future of the west side as it's growing isn't just going to be more water bars, right? It's going to be industry too, right?
We do have some light industry in our area, but I will tell you, one of the biggest things from the next 10 years, you mentioned it earlier, Ken, we had this toll bridge, the community bridge, and for whatever reason, people didn't want to pay $2 or $3 to go across the bridge. Once that's opened up, we are seeing a lot more traffic. I mean, we've seen almost 100% increase in traffic on the west side. And so with that, one of the big things we're working on and trying to see if we can get going forward, working with MoDOT, is some additional road enhancements. And with those road enhancements, we'll bring additional opportunities for businesses along the MMTT F routes, as well as along the Highway 5 corridor that we have from Greenview all the way up through Gravois Mills. So with those changes will be a lot of opportunity, and we will see some additional, whether it's hotels, motels, restaurants, light manufacturing. It will open that up quite a bit with that, with the additional traffic capacity of these new roads, which is one of the things we're really looking at within our communities right now.
Yeah, I think the toll bridge really probably benefited your side more than anybody, and that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. We're going to end this podcast with a little lightning round, so you guys get ready. I'm going to give you a couple questions and get your answers. These do not have to be long, drawn out stuff, but I just want to kind of give a quick, for the people who are watching. You guys are the expert in your area. You kind of know what's going on, and I want them to get your recommendation on a few things. And we'll just end with that, and then I'll come back. But the first question is, what's the must-attend event in your area this year? And it could have already happened. It could be coming up, but I think what's the must-attend event? Let's start with Casey.
So I'm going to keep my chamber hat on. Like, it's all business, really. Our coming to Camdenton quarterly business meetings. We bring our state representative, our county commissioner, city representatives, school district, superintendent. So we bring all these community leaders together in one room for an hour-and-a-half meeting every quarter to share updates to our business community on what's coming up and what they can prepare for.
Okay, so Casey's going with the meetings, get everybody in the same meeting. Mike, what about you? What's your must-attend event?
Well, I got two that I got to throw out there. We have our business expo, which we just had. Casey's also got one of those. That's one of our biggest events to support our business and our community. And then the other one is we've got a lighted Christmas parade coming up that's getting bigger and bigger every year in Laurie. And love to have as many people as we can have come out. It's a great time. It's a great way to kick off the holiday season. And that's the Saturday after Thanksgiving.
That's awesome. And Mike, I might have something for you because I'm working with the new people who just took over the helicopter thing, Aero, and they're looking to do Christmas light flights.
Awesome.
So maybe we'll come up with a couple ways they can do some flights over the parade for you there at Christmas time. Okay, Morgan, now I want you to tell me, what is the must-attend event in your area?
Yes. So community bit, I'm going to say our car show, right? 37 years strong, moving to 38 next year. Chamber event, and I'm going to say it's coming up, is our annual dinner. That is where you learn everything that we have done through the year, what our plans are for the 2026, and that will be on October 23rd. So if you're a chamber member, put that on your calendar. You'll be seeing that roll out. And then community, put it on your calendar for the 38th annual Magic Dragon Street Meet Nationals next year.
Awesome. Well, guys, I really appreciate you coming in today and doing the podcast. I think it's really important for not only the businesses, but also the people that just live here. When we run this in the app, we have over 30,000 users now. So this is going out to everybody that actually is a business at the lake, but also those customers and people who live at the lake. So they know kind of what you guys are doing behind the scenes to make it a better community, to make sure that we have everything we need. And you guys will see on your screen right now, we're showing you how to contact each of the different chambers, and you can contact them. If you're a local business and you're not a member, you need to become a member. And if you are a local business that is a member, just understand that these are the kind of things that when you sign up, you're getting. I mean, we have 3 people here that their whole lives are spent around making sure that your business gets more promotion, that the lake gets more promotion, and that business gets done at Lake of the Ozarks. And so I want to just thank all of you guys for joining me today on the LOZ Podcast Network. You know, we love working with all of you, and we help support all your events that we can. And so it's just a really cool collaboration. And hopefully when we can do another one of these, maybe towards the end of the season, we'll kind of do some review and kind of see what's going on for the fall. But I thank you for joining me today, and appreciate all your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Until next time on the LOZ Podcast Network, I'm Ken Lawler, and we'll be back with another podcast next week.